In example 7b, we are going to find the difference quotient of the function f of x is equal to 5x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now this function has the format y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So the graph of this particular function would be a parabola. So this function is definitely more complicated than the one we saw in example 7a. So you can definitely expect the difference quotient to be a more complicated answer. Okay. All right, let's get started. We need to follow the recipe for forming a difference quotient. So step 1, as we have written up top here, is to find f of x plus h and simplify. Okay, so let's do it. Remember what that means. If you're going to find f of x plus h, that means you're going to take the original function. Everywhere you see an x, you're going to replace it with x plus h, and you're going to simplify. Okay, so step 1 is going to be to find f of x plus h. All right, so f of x plus h is going to equal. We are going to go to our original function. Everywhere we see x, we replace with x plus h. So we're going to have 5 times, instead of multiplying by x squared, we're going to replace x with the package deal, x plus h, put it in parentheses, and we're going to square that. So instead of x squared, we have x plus h squared. Okay, move on to the next term. Okay, in the original function, we have minus 2x. So here we will have minus 2. Instead of multiplying by x, we will multiply by the package deal, x plus h. Make sure it's in parentheses. Okay, lastly, tack on the plus 1. Okay, this is how you form f of x plus h. Okay, now we absolutely have to simplify before we move on. So we've got to multiply all of this out. Okay, so I'm going to write it out this way. This is 5. The x plus h is what's squared here. The 5 is not squared, only the quantity that's in parentheses. So if you square x plus h, that means you're going to multiply it by itself. So this is going to be 5 times x plus h times x plus h. Okay, and then if I move on to the next piece, I'm going to go ahead and distribute the negative 2 through the parentheses. So that's going to give me minus 2x minus 2h, and then we can't forget about the plus 1. Okay, in the next step, I'm going to tackle the 5 times the x plus h times the x plus h. So as we've seen in prior examples, when you have something like this, it's in your best interest to leave the number to last. So I'm going to go out to the side and do the box method to multiply the x plus h times the x plus h. Okay, so if we do that, we're going to multiply each pair. So x times x is x squared. X times h is xh. H times x, you can multiply in either order. That's the same as x times h. And then h times h is h squared. Okay, so if you multiply x plus h and x plus h, you're going to get 4 pieces added together. So we're going to leave the 5 out front, and then we're going to write the result of the multiplication. There are 4 pieces, so they have to go in parentheses so that you correctly distribute the 5 in the next step. The result of the multiplication is x squared plus x times h plus x times h plus h squared. That's it, so close the parentheses. Okay, we'll send the 5 through in the next step. Okay, write the rest of it down. Okay, so we have minus 2x minus 2h plus 1. Okay, almost there. Okay, now send the 5 through to all of these pieces in parentheses. Okay, that's going to give us 5x squared plus 5xh plus 5xh plus 5h squared. And then you're done distributing. Write down the rest of it, minus 2x minus 2h plus 1. The only other thing we can do to simplify here is to combine like terms. Remember, that means you have to have the exact same variable pieces. or you can combine numbers with numbers. So the only things here that look alike are the XH pieces. So you have a piece here and then a piece here. You have 5 XHs here and you have 5 XHs here. So if you combine them, you're going to get a total of 10 of them. So the whole thing will simplify to be 5 times x, or 5 times x squared plus 10 times x times h plus 5 times h squared minus 2x minus 2h plus 1. Okay, this is f of x plus h. Okay, that's just the first step. Okay, now we can proceed to the second step. The second step is to form the numerator. Okay, so if we scroll back up here and look at the second step, we're going to take our result of step 1, which is f of x plus h, and we're going to subtract the original function. Because look at the numerator here, the yellow and the blue. You need to take f of x plus h and subtract f of x. F of x is the original function. Okay, so going back down here, I'm almost out of room, so I'm going to start on the next page. Okay, I am going to, in step 2, I am trying to form f of x plus h minus f of x. Okay, so let's write this down. Okay, so we need to go to our previous step and get the results. We need to write down f of x plus h. Okay, so if we look at the result here, this very long and complicated last line here is what we got for f of x plus h. Okay, so let's write it down. F of x plus h is going to be 5x squared plus 10 times x times h plus 5h squared minus 2x minus 2h plus 1. Okay, so this whole thing is f of x plus h simplified. Okay, now we have to subtract f of x. F of x is the original function, so I'm going to put a minus sign. Okay, if you go back and look at the original function is this 5x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay, there are 3 terms here, so you're going to have to subtract this entire quantity. So you need to put the original function in parentheses here, okay, so that you distribute the negative correctly. So the original function is 5x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay, so you absolutely have to put it in parentheses. Okay, so you can clearly see here, the way I've color coded it, you see the yellow representing the f of x plus h pieces and the blue parts representing the subtraction of the original function. Okay, so this is going to, if you go back to the recipe, this is going to result in the numerator of the difference quotient. Okay, we're doing f of x plus h minus f of x. We need to simplify before we go to step 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and write down f of x plus h. There's nothing we can do with it yet. Again, the more you write, the less likely you are to make a mistake. Okay, let's go ahead and subtract the original function. So we need to distribute the negative sign here, here, and here. Okay, so we're going to get negative times positive is going to give us negative 5x squared. Negative times negative is going to give us positive 2x. And then negative times positive is going to give us negative 1. And remember, this is the step that you can gauge whether or not you're on the right track. If you're doing this correctly, lots of stuff should go away. If you don't have anything canceling out, you want to go back and check you've done something wrong. Okay, so let's see what cancels out. I see a positive 5x squared with canceling with a negative 5x squared. And then I see a positive 1 canceling with a negative 1. And then lastly, I see a negative 2x canceling with a positive 2x. Okay, I don't think anything else cancels. Okay, so we need to write what's left. We're left with 10 times x times h plus 5 times h squared minus 2h. Make sure you grab everything. It's really easy to miss this little piece right here. Okay, so this is the numerator of the difference quotient. This is the result of f of x plus h minus f of x. Okay, so now we're ready to go to step 3. Okay, so let's look back at the recipe. Step 3 is to divide by h. Okay, if you look in the box, we already have the numerator, so now we need to do the green part. We need to divide by h. Okay, so in this last part, we're finishing off the difference quotient. Okay, so we're putting together the whole thing. We've already got the numerator. We just need to divide by h. Okay, so here we go. All right, so we need to basically write down the numerator. So take our previous result. So 10xh plus 5h squared minus 2h. And you need to divide this entire numerator by h. Okay, so this is a step that kind of tricks students up. It's actually a very simple step, but it is easy to get confused on. Okay, this is how you correctly divide the numerator by h. What you should do is take each piece in the top. We're going to break it up. We're going to take each thing in the top and divide by h. So we're going to take the 10xh and we're going to divide by h. Then we're going to keep the sign in the middle, plus. Take the next term, 5h squared, divide it by h. Keep the sign in the middle, minus. Take the next piece, 2h, divide it by h. Okay, this is the correct way to do this step. Okay, all right, now let's simplify each piece. Okay, 10xh over h. I have an h in the top and an h in the bottom. They cancel. H divided by h is 1. That is going to leave us with 10x. Okay, keep your plus sign. Okay, moving to this middle piece. Okay, this top part, 5 times h squared. Remember, that's 5 times h times h. So one of the h's here will cancel with the h in the bottom. So you're going to be left with plus 5h. Okay, and then on the last term, you see an h in the top and an h in the bottom. So h divided by h, those guys will cancel out and you will be left with minus 2. Okay, this is the answer. This is the difference quotient. Okay, you can see this is a complicated answer. It's got an x, it's got an h. It is not just a number. Okay, and that is okay, because the more complicated your function gets, the more complicated its difference quotient is going to be. Okay, we're done. That's your answer. Unfortunately, I don't have a nifty little trick for parabolas to check your answer, okay, like I did for a linear equation. So you're just going to have to follow the steps. Be very careful. It is extremely easy to make a mistake on this because there's so much computation. So just go slow. Make sure, you're checking all your signs and all your distributions, okay? That's it for difference quotient.